It's Nolan. I've been raking up off these niggas for a minute now. Hey, y'all gonna learn to listen one way or another though. Hey, let's get it. Let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me spit your onion. Hey, let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me split your onion. Flashback to the days, I was in the days. I was sleeping on the couch, couldn't nobody stay. I was serving up the chicken, couldn't get a raise. Now I'm cooking up the game like I'm Bobby Flay. Fuck rap, I ain't got no friends in this shit. Put them M's to the front like a Benz in this shit. I be swimming through the money, got some fins in this shit. I be stomping through the street like some Timbs in this bitch. Made trends in this shit, but some IOUs, but I don't lose. Construction high, tighten them screws. Tie my shoes, back on the block, straight to the bag, ho. Jumping off the porch for that green like a tadpole. Let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me spit your onion. Ay, let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me split your onion. Got the chalice on my plate, got a palace in the A. Check the balance in my bank, hitting follies with my bae, yeah. Step aerobics like it's valleys with the weight. I'm in Cali for the day, through the valley in the bay. I'm a rap star, black boy, got on fully. Flat out bully, keep a couple stacks in my hoodie. I'm a saint to the game, get you out like Scully. Got a boss chick with me like passport cutty. Flipping the cash flow, give me the bag, sit in the class, so learning the game, fuck the fame. Get you a pen in the bag, bro, been in the lab, bro. I don't see nobody on my level. Johnny Cochran, I don't settle, keep my foot up on that pedal. Ay, let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another live edition of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music and entertainment breakdowns and commentary. Shout out to everybody in the chat. If y'all enjoyed the song that you just heard, that song is called Onion. It's also from the Southside Nolan album. When I tell y'all I'm a serious artist, I be dead serious. You know what I mean? I don't be lying. I don't be playing. Shout out to Toya. Shout out to Shaquana, Sugar, OKKK, Rosalinda, Lashandra, Courtney, Tyler. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Once again, that song is called Onion, and it's from the Southside Nolan album. You can either get it on streaming platforms, or you could go to my website directly and copy it directly from me. And that's on realjnolan.com. All right? So today what we're going to be doing is going over the entirety of the Megan Thee Stallion lawsuit from Emilio Garcia, a.k.a. Emilio Coochie, former photographer for her. I guess she hired him directly because he was with her since 2018. Once she got into the fold with Roc Nation, I guess they may have took over the payment system where she didn't have to come out of her own pocket or come out of her own accounting to do so. So they were running it. At some point, they fell out. And he's alleging that things started to get weird after he witnessed Megan Thee Stallion and Ibiza having some sort of sexual encounter with one of her friends in a car, right? He couldn't get out. He said he was completely disgusted, which I don't know. You know what I mean? But that's his account. And about a year later after that happened, he was completely fired from his post as Megan Thee Stallion's personal camera person. And now it's been almost a year since he was fired. All of a sudden, he's popping up with a lawsuit talking about unpaid wages, the fact that he didn't have health insurance. He's talking about harassment, sexual harassment, all sorts of things, right? Yesterday, we talked about this, of course. We talked about the breakdown from... Now, the photographer, I don't know if he wanted to crack Megan Thee Stallion. He goes the other way. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, some people, that we're not going to get into all that. Nonetheless, my whole thing was I wanted to see the actual lawsuit. Today, I have it. So that's what we're going to be getting into, is just kind of breaking down everything in there. Now, before we get started, I do think it's very important that I state I am not a legal professional. I am not a lawyer or an attorney. I am not a none of those things. So my opinion here is my opinion, and we're gonna go from there. All right. Much love and respect to everybody in the chat. Let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste no time. I think we kind of set the stage pretty nicely. Got the music. I'm glad y'all fucking with Onion too. But all right, y'all. Let me share my screen and we're gonna get started. Take this down and I'll just put myself in this corner over here. So y'all can still see me, but you also see the paperwork. All right. So this is filed with the Superior Court State of California for the County of Los Angeles. Emilio Garcia, that's the photographer. He's the plaintiff versus Roc Nation. So he's putting them in there. Hot Girl Touring, which is, I guess, a company owned by Megan. Megan Thee Stallion Entertainment. I did not know that she had that company, but that's also in the lawsuit. And, of course, Megan Thee Stallion as an individual, right? Complaint for damages. His complaints include hostile work environment for harassment, failure to prevent and remedy, violation of labor code. Of course, he said that he was misclassified as a 1090 independent contractor versus being an employee. Violation of labor code 226.7. This is for meal and rest breaks because he claimed that he was not able to take lunch breaks or take time off or have rest periods throughout the day. Violation of labor code 510, 515, 1194. This is for unpaid overtime, which I'm not sure how he was working overtime as an independent contractor. You don't work a 9-to-5 schedule, but that is part of his complaint. Violation of labor code 226A, inaccurate wage statements. Violation of labor code 200 through 204, waiting time penalties, basically saying he's been waiting on this money for too long. Retaliation in violation of labor code 98.6. Violation of California Business and Professions Code 1700. So there's 9 complaints in here, right? Just to give y'all a brush up of everything. He can't take time off, but he's mentioned not being booked. Right, exactly. But you know, here we are. Okay. He's demanding a jury trial, by the way. Comes now the plaintiff, Emilio Garcia. Here's the introduction. This is an action brought by the plaintiff, Garcia, pursuant to California statutory, decisional, and regulatory laws. Plaintiff was an employee of defendant Megan Thee Stallion Entertainment. When did she make you an employee of Megan Thee Stallion Entertainment? Do you have documentation to actually say you were an employee of her company? We would love to know. We would love to see your pay stubs with her logo and everything on it, please. Anyway, herein referred to as Stallion Entertainment, defendant Hot Girl Touring LLC. So you are an employee of that company also, right? Okay. Defendant Roc Nation and defendant Megan Thee Stallion, whose real name is Megan Pete, hereinafter referred to as Stallion, right? So they would be collectively referred to as either defendant or employer, as he calls them. Plaintiff alleges that California statutory, decisional, and regulatory laws prohibit the conduct by these defendants herein alleged, and therefore plaintiff has an entitlement to monetary relief or the basis that defendants violated such statutes, decisional law, and regulations. So, jurisdiction and venue. The jurisdiction is proper in this court by virtue of the California statutes, decisional law, and regulations, and the local rules under Los Angeles County Superior Court rules. Okay? We're going to skip through some of this because, you know, these lawsuits, they be very, very repetitious. A lot of repeated stuff. Fluff, if you will. Parties. At all times herein mentioned, plaintiff Garcia is and has been a resident of California. That's very important to make sure that he's able to have those labor laws of California work in his favor. Defendant Roc Nation LLC is and at all times herein mentioned has been a Delaware business organization with the capacity to sue and be sued and doing business with a principal place of business located at, we're going to go over that. We don't need their location. All right, this is where all of them are located, so we can skip past that. Factual allegations. Number one, when you see something that says factual allegations, That is that's an oxymoron within itself, but shout out to whoever wrote this. On or around June 2022, plaintiff was traveling on tour with Stallion in Ibiza, Spain. After a night out, plaintiff Stallion, and three other women, and let's just go ahead and nip this in the bud. Some people were saying that this whole thing could be Nicki Minaj's motivation for saying, why the hell is you humping on a minor? It is stated explicitly in this man's lawsuit that these are three other women, no one underage. So please, let's go ahead and put that cigarette out, okay? After a night out, plaintiff Stallion and three other women were riding in an SUV together. Suddenly, Stallion and one of the other women start having sex right beside plaintiff. And I want to make sure we key in on the fact that in the lawsuit, they are stating they had sex. Now, some people are saying maybe she was drunk, maybe whatever, and that could possibly be correct. They might have started kissing and feeling on each other, but I believe sex is typically known as penetration. So if they coochies and booties was all the way out being, you know what I mean, then I'll say he probably is owed some money for witnessing it. But we're going to keep going because we don't know if that's really the case. Plaintiff could not get out of the car as it was both moving and he was in the middle of nowhere in a foreign country. Plaintiff was embarrassed, mortified, and offended throughout the whole ordeal. How long was the ordeal, by the way? Since it was sex. The following day, Stallion inquired whether plaintiff was in the SUV previous night, so she was, I guess, inebriated out of her mind, did not even know that he was there, right? But he was forced to witness it. Plaintiff confirmed that he was in the SUV. Subsequently, Stallion instructed, "Don't ever discuss what you saw." This is a direct quote. Stallion berated and directed her fat-shaming comments toward plaintiff, such as "fat bitch, spit your food out," and "that you don't need to be eating." Now, what I find interesting here is how this section right here, 14, how did this escalate so fast, but there's no inclusion of how this conversation escalated, right? If it goes from, hey, were you in the car last night? Don't ever discuss what you saw. Do we really believe that she's just going to start insulting him out of nowhere in the middle of asking him that question? We don't have any of his responses or remarks that could have turned this into a contentious conversation. And I'm not saying Megan did not say these things to him. I want to be very clear. I would just like to know, where's the rest of the conversation? Right? And you don't need to be eating, spit your food out. How you tell a nigga to spit their food out? That's some wild shit to me. Let me see what y'all saying out here, man. Yeah, it is kind of interesting that they're calling her by her stage name, not her real name. I will say that. But, you know, after seeing Lil Rod's full lawsuit, it's a lot of that going on also. The courts are getting a little bit lenient these days. After confiding in the makeup artist, Stallion learned of the plaintiff's contemplation of quitting due to Stallion's possessiveness combined with lack of appropriate pay for the amount of time asked of him. Again, this is escalating quite quickly with the lack of details. You confided with the makeup artist and let them know that you were thinking of quitting. So at what point did Megan become possessive? At what point did you feel like your wages were inappropriate? When did you confront them about these things? Because if you're contemplating quitting and you're having some sort of interaction with her still, despite your personal feelings, when were these inadequacies being communicated to your employer, who you're alleging is your employer? Later that night, Stallion drunkenly FaceTimed the plaintiff, so she's still making attempts to communicate with him, even though she may be drunk. And after, plaintiff expressed his belief that he was being underpaid for the amount of hours actually asked of him, okay? They reached an understanding, quote unquote, with Stallion affirming, "We're good." Where did y'all see this? This is damn near the exact text that was in the article I read yesterday. So you mean to tell me that this lawsuit reads like an article on page 6? What the fuck is going on? There's so many details that are being glazed over that, at least with Lil Rod situation with Diddy and we saw the root. We saw y'all last talking about is Megan the new Diddy. That was crazy. Y'all want to delete the tweets and shit. And I want everybody to understand here, I'm not in favor of Megan in this. I'm in favor of finding out the truth. The problem with this lawsuit is there's so much information that's missing. You're talking about conversations, but there's not enough evidence from these conversations that can make me say any of this happened. Y'all come to the conclusion of we're good, but how did y'all come to that conclusion? What were the figures? What were the numbers? What were the work hours agreed to when y'all said that y'all were good? Despite the conversation, plaintiff remained scheduled for Stallion's upcoming gig the following Friday, right? Nevertheless, on or around June 2023, Roc Nation unexpectedly reached out to plaintiff the night before the scheduled Friday gig and informed him that his services would no longer be required, so he was fired in June of 2023. Plaintiff has timely filed a complaint of discrimination with the California Civil Rights Department and obtained a right to sue letter on April 12th. As such, plaintiff has exhausted his administrative remedies to pursue claims under the Fair Employment and Housing Act, also known as FEHA or FEHA. Wage and hour violations. I would love to see this part. Let's go. From the inception of his employment, Garcia was misclassified as an independent contractor while working as a personal cameraman to defendant Megan Thee Stallion. Plaintiff has been treated as an independent contractor by Roc Nation and Stallion Entertainment so that he was effectively denied any of the protections an employee would have under California law. I would love to know how it is that you're reporting to work as an employee of Megan Thee Stallion and Roc Nation if you're a personal cameraman. A personal cameraman is not an actual occupation under labor code. You're a 1099 independent contractor. We see this happen every day. Whatever. The entertainment, come on, man. In April of 2018, the California Supreme Court, in the now infamous Dynamics decision, ruled that companies must successfully meet the three-pronged ABC test in order to lawfully classify someone as an independent contractor. What? For purposes of wage order claims. Okay, so they're making reference to another case, Dynamics Operations West versus Supreme Court 2018. This is also Garcia versus Border Transportation Group. The ABC test requires an employer to prove the following to justify independent contractor classification. A, the worker is free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in the performance of the work, both under the contract for the performance of the work and in fact. B, the worker performs work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. And C, the worker is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as the work performed for the hiring entity. So are you trying to say that you were an employee because they were not allowing you to work with anyone else? Is that your basis? Or because I don't see how this is helping you. But again, I'm not a legal professional. Maybe some of this is going over my head. On September 18, 2019, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 5, commonly referred to as the Gig Worker Law. AB 5 codified Dynamics' ABC test under the soon-to-be-added Labor Code 2750.3, creating a rebuttable presumption that a worker is an employee unless the test is met and explicitly exempted certain trades and professions. Oh, boy. On or around July 2018, plaintiff Garcia supported defendant Stallion as a personal cameraman. On or around September 2019, plaintiff Garcia quit his full-time job and began his employment with defendant Stallion as a full-time personal cameraman. So you quit your job and decided you were You said, hey man, I quit my motherfucking job. I now work for you full-time. I am an employee. That's not how this works. You don't just decide that you're an employee. You gotta have some paperwork. Did y'all go through an interview process? Were there other candidates? What the fuck, man? Oh my God. You just told her I'm your employee now. I quit my job. I'm your employee. For all relevant times, Stallion controls and directs the work performed by plaintiff. For all relevant times, Stallion controls and dictates plaintiff's work environment. For all relevant times, Stallion controls and directs work performance of plaintiff who managed no people. For all relevant times, plaintiff essentially worked during all waking hours of a day. He was always answering calls and running other tasks under Stallion's direction. Plaintiff used his personal device to stay updated on his schedule, which intensified blurring the lines between work and personal time. More than once, Stallion interrupted the plaintiff during dinner and demanded that he immediately shift his focus to assist with her TikTok creative ideas. That's what you being paid for, though. Plaintiff stepped away from dinner and worked on the phone in a quiet space of a given restaurant. So you mean to tell me while y'all was having dinner, which I don't believe is out of the question, you're having dinner, she says, hey, come over here with me, let's shoot some TikToks. So you're saying that you were not allowed to finish your dinner at any point? You couldn't get a takeout box to take your shit home? She didn't want to go back and finish her own food so that y'all could have conversation and eat. She had you filming TikToks for the remainder of the evening. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. As a personal cameraman, plaintiff was forced to take on a myriad of duties and work much longer hours. I could see that being possible. Plaintiff worked in excess of 50 hours under the close scrutiny and explicit discretion of Stallion, who continuously contacted plaintiff at all hours, directing him to brainstorm TikTok videos, to edit content that plaintiff had not captured, and complete various assignments. Now, I hate to do this to you, sir, but weren't you also doubling as a rapper during your employment with Megan Thee Stallion? So if she's taking 50 hours out of your time, you have no time for personal time. You don't even have time to eat. Yet you had time to put out music. You had time to direct your own music videos. You had time to release said music videos. I'm only saying this because I actually took a trip to Homeboy TikTok and all his music is old. He ain't got no new shit out. So during the years of working with Megan Thee Stallion, when you were doing all of this, overload of work, you were out here also pursuing a career as a rapper, but you had no time for yourself. Okay. For all relevant times, Stallion controls and directs the performance of plaintiff's work. I guess it would be a good time to go ahead and pull up Emilio Coochie, so y'all see I'm not capping about this young man. So let's just do our due diligence here. I can't even fucking type right. Oh, man. Emilio Coochie. All right. I'm going to temporarily take myself off the screen. 21.7 thousand followers. H-Town Hustler Showcase. That was of this year. This is March 27th. Let's go down here. See how long you've been, because all of this stuff is not pertaining to none of his actual camera work. I mean, some of it is, but most of this is him rapping. So we see here June 21st, 2023. This is around the time that he was let go, by the way. We do see Megan Thee Stallion appear. But you out here doing your thing. You filming her. We see Megan again. April 22nd of 2023. I'm sure this photo took a lot of time. But then we also see you in April of 2023 talking about come see me and a lot of other artists perform tonight. This is during the time of your employment with Megan Thee Stallion. You couldn't even eat. but you was able to go perform at some festival. Interesting. Unannounced music video out now. All the while working with Megan Thee Stallion. Allegedly working for, not just with. Austin, what's good? You performed at the Halcyon Austin during your time of employment. Releasing freestyles, toxic freestyle video. I'm just gonna go through a few of these because I'm not here to like shit on bro, but the evidence is the evidence. January 20th, 2023, I Want Cash music video. We're just gonna keep scrolling down. We still see you working with Megan at this point. We see you working with other people as well, which should also note that you weren't too booked to get other sessions in with other people, but she was obsessive. I don't work for Megan Thee Stallion. I never got a $250 payment from Roc Nation. You had time to make your own TikToks in the midst of doing hers as well. We keep seeing Megan, so clearly this is during his time of employment, allegedly, you know. And I say employment allegedly because we don't know if you are actually an employee. We do see photos of Megan. All right. We ain't gonna spend too much time on there. I just wanted y'all to see, number one, he had plenty of time to put out music. He had plenty of time to shoot other people, as we can see here. And he had time to perform at festivals occasionally. But you were overworked and couldn't do nothing. Couldn't even finish your meals. I'm gonna close that out. I'll put myself back in the corner and we'll continue the lawsuit. All right. For all relevant time, Stallion controls and directs the performance of plaintiff's work who did not provide personal cameraman services independently, quote unquote, of his relationship with Stallion. Stallion specifically told plaintiff he was not allowed to service any other client other than herself on more than one occasion. So you're saying she made it very abundantly clear you could not service anyone else. But we just went through your Instagram and you had other people every other day on your Instagram. Interesting. And if I can pick holes in this story, just imagine what Alex Spiro is going to do. Because Alex Spiro, Jay-Z attorney, Megan Thee Stallion attorney. Come on, dog. Initially, plaintiff was paid a monthly flat rate of $4,000 while working for Roc Nation and Stallion Entertainment. So you were an employee for both companies. Interesting. When did Roc Nation have you shooting for any of their other clients if you were an employee of their company? However, on or around August 2022, Desiree Perez, okay, some familiar names here. The chief executive officer of Roc Nation personally contacted the plaintiff to alter plaintiff's compensation structure from a monthly rate to a pay-per-task system invoiced for each assignment. Despite this change, the time expectation of the plaintiff remained the same as before Roc Nation's demand to change plaintiff's pay. However, the new invoicing system resulted in plaintiff earning significantly less as the invoice amounts did not accurately reflect the true time and effort dedicated to working for her. Now, what I find interesting here is August of 2022, they decided to stop paying you dollars per month. What we don't see here is when they elected to pay you $4,000 a month, because I'm quite sure when you linked with Megan in 2018, she wasn't paying you $4,000 a month when she was by herself before she went to Roc Nation as a management group. So we would love to know when you started receiving $4,000 per month. I'm willing to believe they put you on this monthly retainer during the pandemic because work was slowing down and they wanted to make sure that you were taken care of during the hectic nature of the pandemic. There was a lot of inconsistencies with people's work schedules. Niggas wasn't able to tour, you know, but they kept you on board, kept you afloat. August of 2022, that's about the time a lot of people within the music industry were opening and getting back to their regularly scheduled programs. So it's like, hey, we're no longer going to foot the bill for all of this. We're going to pay you as needed because now we can get back outside and you can actually work the way that you're supposed to, right? That's just my assumption. That's not what's in the lawsuit. Anybody that wants to pick holes in that piece, that's what I said. Have at it. On multiple occasions, Stallion explicitly directed plaintiff not to engage with other clients, expressing possessiveness over the plaintiff's services as her personal cameraman. So he's still staying very steadfast on the fact that Megan didn't want him working with nobody else, period, point blank. For all relevant times, Stallion controls and directs plaintiff's work performance, requiring his constant availability by phone for work-related issues, thereby causing severe emotional distress and anxiety. So this is where we start getting into emotional distress and anxiety. Megan Thee Stallion is now Dame Dash in his eyes. During his travels with Stallion, plaintiff was required to stay at the hotel and be on standby at all times. Any attempt to use the hotel's amenities would prompt Stallion to reach out and request his immediate return. So now this nigga he couldn't order room service. He couldn't do nothing. He wanted to turn his Wi-Fi on, make it say, hey, no, cut that shit off. That nigga want to order an HBO movie, cut that shit off. Oh, man. Megan Thee Stallion is a tyrant. Okay. Hey, I don't know her. We're going to go with the fact that she is for now. As a result of the misclassification, plaintiff was denied a meal break or rest break. In addition, plaintiff was not paid meal or rest break premiums during his entire employment. So now you feel like you were supposed to be paid for meals. Now, I'm just going to assume some of my viewers here, if not all, y'all probably work somewhere. Does your job pay you to eat? Does your job cover your meals when you go off and eat and come back for lunch? Your job covers that? Not out of the money they pay you in your check, but, you know, covered meals. Now, some people may work in the food business. That's different. But for those that don't, your job covers your meals? I'd just like to know. She needs to be held accountable for what? What are we holding her accountable for? I ain't seen the comments in a minute because I've been reading this, but I would love to know what she's being held accountable for. Is it the fact that he couldn't order HBO at the hotel? Or that he couldn't shoot for nobody else when we've already shown that he could? I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, for all relevant times, Stallion controls and directs the performance of plaintiff's duties. Did not qualify him exempt for purposes of overtime. So basically, he's alleging he was working overtime, but he was not exempt from being paid. So he wants overtime paid. Yep. During the entirety of his employment with Stallion, plaintiff was denied overtime pay at an overtime rate. Plaintiff was not paid for hours worked in excess of 8 hours a day. You would also have to know what your work schedule is. What are your work hours? If you exceeded 8 hours a day, when did your work day begin and when did it end? Every job outlines that. So if you were an employee, where is the paper trail on that? For all relevant times, plaintiff was not paid time and a half for any overtime he worked or paid after the paycheck was thus underpaid for all hours worked to the extent the pay did not meet labor code requirements. And, you know, I'm going to read this whole thing, but if there's no evidence of an agreement signed that they were going to pay you $4,000 a month That's going to be a problem for me. Because if we don't have any actual Roc Nation paperwork here denoting what they agreed to, what you agreed to with the signature, how can we say that these conversations ever happen? And again, that's not me asking on behalf of Megan Thee Stallion. That's me asking in regards to trying to get to the bottom of this. Because if you are actually entitled this money, you would want this paper trail to work in your favor. For all relevant times, plaintiff was not paid time and a half. Okay, y'all keep saying the same shit. That's why I said these lawsuits be very repetitious, repetitive as a motherfucker. During the entirety of his employment with Stallion, plaintiff's hours of employment were not properly recorded due to purposeful misclassification. So, okay. So they classified you as a work for hire 1099 from the jump. And you decided on your own accord that you were an employee. Similar to what I said a few minutes ago at the top of the lawsuit. I was just joking, but it seems that you literally decided after you got fired, you know, I was really an employee this whole time. Y'all should have paid me for all of that time I was there. Moreover, during the entirety of his employment with Stallion, plaintiff was denied his meal, and here we go with the meal and rest breaks. Stallion's misclassification of his employment status left him without basic insurance coverage, depriving him of essential health care. Plaintiff grapples with mounting anxiety, depression, and physical distress stemming from the toxic work environment, compounded by the trauma of unpaid work. That's a lot to unpack. So when you were classified as a independent contractor in the beginning, no one ever told you, hey, you're going to be responsible for your own insurance. You're going to have to go get you a healthcare plan of your own. Nobody said that to you. Nobody inquired about that. Nobody close to you and your family ever asked you, what's your healthcare situation looking like? You know, you out here working for yourself. Okay. All right, first cause of action. Let's get to it because I would love to know what caused this environment to become hostile. Plaintiff incorporates by reference and realleges each of the foregoing paragraphs. At all times mentioned in this complaint, defendants regularly employed 5 or more persons, bringing defendants within the provisions of California Fair Employment and Housing Act. We talked about that earlier. Defendant Stallion's conduct created a hostile work environment for plaintiff, making the conditions of his employment intolerable in direct contravention of various statutes and state law decisions, including but not limited to California Government Code. On or around July 2018, plaintiff Garcia began his employment with defendant Megan Thee Stallion as a personal cameraman. Did Megan already have a business established in 2018? I would love to know. Because if you began your official employment with her, I would love to know if she was an official employer of anyone in 2018. Maybe even herself. On or around June 2022. So now we're skipping ahead 4 years. So you worked with her for 4 years with no hostile environment. Okay. On or around June 2022, plaintiff was traveling on tour with Stallion in Ibiza, Spain after a night out. So this is the sex thing all over again. The following day, we're getting to the same shit we spoke about. All right. Following the Ibiza trip on August of 2022, Desiree Perez altered the plaintiff's compensation structure. All right. So here we go. So this took place in June of 2022. Couple months later, Desi Perez from Roc Nation then says, we're not paying you $4,000 a month no more. Okay. To a pay per task system invoiced for each assignment, which you honestly should have been doing from the jump, but you know, they agreed to pay you $4,000 a month. So everything was all inclusive. Despite this change, plaintiff remained accountable and was expected to provide the same level of service to Stallion. So you're saying So you're saying that they removed their $4,000 monthly retainer to pay you on a pay per task system, which would require you to invoice them for everything that you did. Despite this change, you are still expected to provide the same level of service, meaning that your schedule should not have changed. Therefore, meaning it was now your responsibility to keep tabs on each assignment and send invoices, which I'm sure you probably didn't do. I don't know. Y'all let me know if I'm reaching here. But it seems like the ball is in your court at this point, to where if they're asking you to do something, you're supposed to make documentation stating, all right, I performed this task, I shot this on this day, I shot this at this time, I shot this at this time. And you should have had your documentation in order. Again, this is not going against Emilio. This is just for anyone in his position. If you're on a pay-per-task system, it's now your responsibility to provide invoices. Me, as a songwriter, I have to do this with the companies that I deal with in the sync licensing world. If I write 5 songs for XYZ company, guess what I then have to do? I have to invoice them for each song that I send over before they add it to their catalog. So I'm not saying this as somebody that don't know what the hell is going on, because I sit in the same position as Emilio in you know what I mean, similar situations. And I'm sure any independent contractor out there understands this. Despite this change, he remained expected to provide the same level of service. Moreover, plaintiff noticed a change in how he was treated and saw a decrease in the number of bookings. All right. See, this is where shit gets weird for me. At first, you were on a monthly payment. You were doing all types of shit. In the next line, you say, despite this change, when they put you on pay per task, you were expected to provide the same level of service, which means the service should not decline, the level. If you shot at this quality with your camera, you're expected to remain at that same quality. You make it seem as though you are working the same type of hours and not being compensated enough. But then in the very next sentence, you say the number of bookings that you received began to decrease, which should have opened your schedule to go do other shit. Right? Am I fucked up here? Am I not making sense? Because one day you were expected to provide the same level of service. You were tired, overworked, underpaid. But then at a certain point, they did you a favor and stopped booking you as much. Now you're complaining about that. Interesting. Close to other creatives on Stallion's team, plaintiff confided in Stallion's former makeup artist about considering leaving because Megan had started to hire another cameraman. So she's making your workload a lot lighter, which is what you seem to have wanted. But now that's a problem. Such harassment was so severe. Where was the harassment? We have no direct quotes of any source of harassment. Such harassment was so severe and pervasive that it altered the terms and conditions of plaintiff's employment, creating a hostile and abusive work environment and making his working conditions intolerable. But we have no mention of these conditions. What was the conditions? Did they make you sleep in the basement instead of a hotel room? Right? Were you slaving? Were you cooking all Megan Thee Stallion's meals even though you weren't hired as a personal chef? Like, where did this relationship become hostile and abusive? Because we have no direct mention. Her having you work and then all of a sudden you're complaining about your workload, so she hires another cameraman to decrease your workload, and now it's an intolerable situation. That makes absolutely no sense. People that hate Megan Thee Stallion, are y'all really able to like go through this and feel like this nigga's right? Like, if we're going off of reasonable doubt, if we're going off of like what's admissible in court, like, he should have way more in this lawsuit explaining how the terms of his employment became hostile and abusive. Talking about he's physically sick, emotionally distressed. There should be way more encounters in here where Megan is harassing him, treating him poorly, insulting him. It seems that there was one misunderstanding and all of a sudden his life went to shambles. As a direct and legal result of defendant's conduct in each of them, plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer general, consequential, and special damages, including but not limited to substantial losses in earnings, other employment benefits, physical injuries. He's endured physical injuries, yet the fact she never physically touched him. Physical sickness, as well as emotional distress, plus medical expenses, future medical expenses. So she's even being held liable for his future medical expenses. The unforeseen. Give me a fucking break. And attorney's fees to all her damages in the amount according to proof. During the entirety of his employment with Stallion, plaintiff endured a barrage of relentless sexual and fat-shaming comments, plunging him into profound emotional distress. Stallion's misclassification left her without basic insurance coverage, depriving him of essential mental and physical health care. Now we're getting into mental health care. Plaintiff grapples with mounting anxiety, depression, and physical distress stemming from such a toxic work environment. Said actions justify the imposition of punitive damages in that defendants committed the acts herein maliciously, fraudulently, and oppressively with the wrongful intention of injuring plaintiff from an improper and evil motive amounted to malice and conscious disregard of his rights. Based upon the foregoing, plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive damages. Okay, whatever. You want to be paid. Second cause of action. Okay, let's get to the second. Failure to prevent and remedy harassment. Okay. We would love to know where the harassment came and how she failed to remedy the situation. We would love to know that part because that could change some narrative here. Plaintiff incorporates by reference and realleges each of the foregoing paragraphs, basically stating that this is his account. Plaintiff was subject to harassment based on sex by defendant Megan Thee Stallion. As alleged in more detail above, such conduct is prohibited by FEHA, California Government Code. Under this FEHA, an employer is strictly liable for the harassing conduct of his agents and supervisors. They're going back to another case. On or around June of 2022, so this is the same incident. This one incident from June 2022 is what's ever looming. But we don't see anything else. But maybe this is the straw that broke the camel's back, I suppose. We already know he was riding with Megan and 3 other women. And they broke out in some crazy sex with one woman. And he was mortified. Right? We've already gone through this. Don't discuss what you saw. She called him a fat bitch. Told him he don't need to be eaten. This is like a fucking copy and paste. All right. 2023, June, Rock Nation unexpectedly reached out the night before his scheduled gig and informed that his service would no longer be needed. Let's see if there's any additional details. As a proximate result of the aforesaid acts of defendants in each of them, plaintiff has suffered actual, consequential, and incidental financial losses, including without limitation loss of salary and benefits, intangible loss of employment-related opportunities in his field. How did you lose intangibles? How did you lose? What? The intangible loss of employment related opportunities in the field. Who else knew about this? Because now when you say this, damage to your professional reputation. So you mean to tell me if Megan told you not to tell anybody out there, how did you take a hit to your reputation? Did she tell you not to tell nobody about it, but then she started telling everybody else about it? But then why would she tell anybody else about her thotting and bopping with one of her female friends in the car. So bad that it offended you. So where did you take a hit to your reputation? Was your reputation based on the fact that you were Megan Thee Stallion's cameraman and your ass got fired? So now people started questioning, damn, you ain't Megan Thee Stallion cameraman no more. Who the fuck is you? Because the rest of this shit don't make no sense. All in an amount to subject proof at the time of the trial. Plaintiff claims such amounts as damages pursuant to civil code as the approximate result of wrongful acts of defendants, and each of them. Plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer emotional distress, humiliation, mental anguish, and embarrassment, but you were never embarrassed by anybody. This shit is crazy, man. This is crazy shit right here. This is way worse than Lil Rod shit. This is poorly written, poorly structured. Can't really believe none of this shit because there's so much missing. Third cause of action. Violation of Labor Code 2268 and 27503. Misclassification. So this is where they talk about the fact that he was misclassified as a independent contractor versus being an employee. Right? Gonna skip past some of this legal jargon. In April of 2018, the California Supreme Court, and now you're talking about a whole nother case here. We're not going to get into that. Right? On or around July 2018, he began his employment. We've gone over this, but we need paperwork that details this employment arrangement. We've got no documents here. I don't know. Maybe him and his legal team are holding on to the official evidence because y'all are pushing for a jury trial. So maybe you're trying to keep your actual documents close to the cuff. You don't want nobody to see them until an actual trial is permitted. But without any form of proof, what judge is going to actually take this on for trial? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. More shit that we already went through. He worked in excess of 50 hours. I'm guessing in each work week, he worked over 50 hours. He had to brainstorm on her TikTok videos. This is all stuff that I've read before. If y'all are wondering, if anyone is wondering why I'm just skimming through it at this point, because the sections where he's supposed to be expanding on his allegations, it's literally just copy and paste of what he's already said. He's not giving any additional information that makes this any more convincing. This lawsuit really could have been like 4 pages. He didn't get paid for overtime. He wasn't paid for taking meals. Didn't get breaks. That whole third cause of action was a bunch of fluff. Failure to provide meal and rest periods. All right. So this is his fourth cause of action due to California Labor Code. We've already gone through this. All right. According to California Labor Code, he was supposed to be given at least a 10-minute rest period every 4 hours. Okay. He was supposed to be given at least 30 minutes of meal periods for every 5 hours of work, and another 30-minute period if the work period is 10 hours or more. So this is where he's trying to say he was doing all these hours and not given breaks. Right? Oh, boy. This lawsuit sucks. Gotta be honest. This shit stinks. Fifth cause of action. Violation of labor code for unpaid overtime. You said you worked in excess of 50 hours a week and you weren't paid time and a half for exceeding it. This is all the same shit that we've already gone through. He was required to stay at hotels, but he could not access any of the hotel amenities. This is also something we went over. This is literally garbage. Sixth cause of action. Inaccurate wage statements. Please correct me, please. Please have something in here in this fucking part 6 that tells me how they gave you inaccurate wage statements. Okay? All right. At all material time set forth herein, California Labor Code 226A provides that every employer shall furnish each of his or her employees an accurate itemized wage statement. Yes, we would love to see one. Which includes gross wages earned, total hours worked, the number of piece rate units earned, and or applicable piece rate if the employee is paid on a piece rate basis, all deductions, provided that all deductions made on written orders of the employee may be aggregated and shown as one item, net wages earned, the inclusive dates of the period for which the employee is paid, the name of the employee and the last 4 digits of their social or employee identification number. But if you're putting in an EIN, you would be working as your own business, right? You would be a contractor. The name and address of the legal entity that is the employer, all applicable hourly rates in effect during the pay period, and the corresponding number of hours worked at each hourly rate by the employee. On or around July 2018, we know that's when you started working as her personal cameraman. Okay. During the entirety of his employment with Stallion, plaintiff's hours of employment were not properly recorded due to purposeful misclassification. We got that. During the entirety of his employment, plaintiff was denied his meal and rest. Here we go with the same shit. This is supposed to be a whole new violation and you're still naming the same stuff from the previous. Defendant intentionally and willfully failed to provide plaintiff with complete and accurate wage statements. The deficiencies include, among other things, the failure to include the gross wages earned, total numbers of hours worked, and the failure to accurately list all applicable rates, as plaintiff was not allowed to take rest breaks. What? The fact that I'm reading all this shit over is kicking my ass. Furthermore, plaintiff claims for rest break violations, waiting time penalties, and failure to issue accurate itemized wage statements are claims for non-payment of wages entitle a prevailing plaintiff to award an attorney fees under California Labor Code. Part 7. Violation of labor code, waiting time penalties. He finna tell us the same shit over and over, all over again. At all times here set forth in California Labor Code 200 through 204, provide that if an employer discharges an employee, the wages earned and unpaid at the time of discharge are due and payable immediately. That is true. If you're let go by your employer, they still owe you the money for the time that you work. That's absolutely true. Right? So they say if an employee voluntarily leaves or his or her employment, his or her wages shall become due and payable not later than 72 hours thereafter, unless the employee has given 72 hours previous notice of his or her intention to quit, in which case the employee is entitled to his or her wages at the time of quitting. I don't know California labor laws, but I've never known employees to pay you immediately after they let you go if you're on a pay period. I don't know, but I don't know California labor code. So it's possible he could be owed some money, but how much work had you been unpaid for at the time that you were fired? How many projects did you do prior to them firing you? I think that's very important. Unfortunately, we have no mention of that in your lawsuit. Like, when was the last time you were paid? And how much work did you actually complete since the last time that you were paid, which would add up an accrued total of what you're owed. We don't see none of that in here. So even with these work violations, we don't know what you were supposed to get. And based on what you agreed to, they could say, we'll give you $4,000 for an additional month of work, because that was what we used to pay you. Now get your ass out of here. Oh, man. Because you was happy with that 4K. Which, to be honest, if you lived in California just making $4,000 a month, you were living in poverty happily. Anyway. Plaintiff is entitled to recover from defendants additionally accruing wages for each day not paid at the regular rate of pay up to 30 days maximum pursuant. Exactly. So they could really only pay you up to 30 days, which would be that $4,000. Anyway. Eighth cause of action. Plaintiff incorporates by reference and reallege all of the bullshit. You became a cameraman. You had to do TikTok videos. This shit is all, every count in this lawsuit is a retelling of the same story. Y'all reading this as I'm scrolling through this shit, man. Y'all reading through this shit? It is the same exact stuff. I don't even want to read this shit aloud because I feel like I've said it 10 times over already. Don't ever discuss what you saw. It's the same shit. After confiding in a makeup artist, he thought about quitting because he had a lack of booking. Like, why were you thinking of quitting due to lack of bookings, but you're also claiming you were doing so much work that you didn't have no personal time? Which one is it? Again, for those of y'all that want to see Megan go down, if you look at this lawsuit, can you conscionably look at this thing and say it makes sense? Even if you hate this woman. Because I'm going to go ahead and just say it. If this same exact lawsuit were on anyone else in the music industry, namely a Nicki Minaj, I would be saying the same shit verbatim right now. This shit is a terrible lawsuit. He did himself no favors. Who the fuck is the lawyer? Emilio, who did you hire? Did you write this yourself? Did you copy and paste this this lawsuit from somebody else's shit? We've read through 9 counts of complaints, and they all had the same problem in each count. Prayer for damages according to proof, including unpaid wages, for interest on the amount of unpaid wages. So you want interest for the fact that you haven't been paid. You want general unpaid wages at overtime rates. And you want statutory penalties. You want statutory wage penalties for the labor codes violated. You want restitution of unpaid wages and prejudgment interest. And you actually have who is Ronald Zambrano Esquire? You need to go find whoever's blowing cars up for Diddy and blow his shit up. Cause did you read through this shit yourself? Hold on, y'all. Let me stop sharing my screen. We sat here and read through that shit and got no additional information. I literally read all of that information yesterday off of fucking page 6. And that is all you got in your lawsuit? And there's people out here saying that Megan Thee Stallion owes this man money? Holy moly. Ain't no fucking way. The shit had me feeling illiterate because I'm like, man, what am I missing? What am I missing? This can't be correct. This can't be life. This can't be love. This can't be right. It's gotta be more. This can't be us. Oh man, so Megan Thee Stallion, her team has come out and they say this is an employment claim for money with no sexual harassment claim filed and with salacious accusations to attempt to embarrass her. This is Megan's lawyer, Alex Spiro, who I told y'all about. He came out and says, we will deal with this in court. He finna wipe the floor with y'all ass. He finna wipe the floor. He finna mop. Emilio Coochie. Wow. I had to. I had to put the not my fault on there. I had to because this is crazy. Shit, I would love to be on this jury. This trial is going to be a fucking breeze. Everybody going back to work soon. I don't think this is going to make it to the jury, actually. I think this shit may get tossed out. Oh my God. We really sat here for an hour and read the same 4 accusations 20 times apiece. What the fuck is going on, man? Lala said, can we get a like break? Shit, we ain't gonna get a like break. This is we about to break for goddamn lunch. On behalf of, you know what I mean? On behalf of Emilio, I think we need to goddamn do a lunch break. Oh my God. What the hell? Elle says, Cassie opened up the doors for all the known freaks to get sued for simply being freaks. No, we're not going to say that. Now, Cassie's lawsuit had intimate details about her being forced to have sex with multiple people against her will. That's totally different. Lil Rod case showed all the freaky shit that was going on around him, and he said, I don't like this shit, man. Niggas tried to send escorts his way. Cuba Gooding tried to rub on his shoulders and get a hold of his nuts. He said, I don't like this shit. This case from Emilio, aka Emilio Coochie, this does not give us any further information about Megan being a freak. We don't even know if this one sexual encounter that happened in front of him actually happened. That's totally different. Man, it was painful. I ain't repeated myself that many times since babysitting children. That shit was crazy. All he did was make sure he'll never work in that town again. He definitely taking his ass back to Houston. He won't be living in California. Dreamer, the lawsuit is to settle, not go to court. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get the settlement he's looking for. He gonna have to settle his ass back in Houston. However, the lawsuit also did say that they are actually pushing for a jury trial. It said it in the documentation. Miss Noel, you didn't miss much because all we did was reread the same 4 complaints 30 times. Lil Rod at least, Lil Rod at least got his booty touched so that he could play along and get evidence and show photos, video. We haven't seen the videos, but we have proof that he has videos. You know what I mean? Lil Rod definitely turned into Jay Reed. Emilio Coochie, I don't know what you did. It's not the same thing, though. We can't say that she could have just left because we have explicit information, photos that say Diddy was also physically assaulting her. Again, we can't compare these two things. There's no possible way. You can't just leave in an abusive relationship. Everybody tells us that, as much as we would like to say that they can. Lil Rod could have left. He wanted to keep playing keys and act like he didn't know what the fuck was going on. Or he may not have been able to leave. Diddy might have been like, what you leaving for, my nigga? You can't. You done signed a death row. What community is he a part of? If you're saying the LGBTQ, we already know that part, but I don't think any other community, I don't even think they're going to be receptive of his ass after this. That judge ain't going to sit there and listen to him complain about making TikTok videos. I think he will. If this makes it to a judge, judges have to preside over TikTok cases all the time. There's a lot of folks that have been sued for TikTok cases. There's people that have created TikTok houses and motherfuckers went in there to create content for months and never got paid and sued whoever put them in the house because they couldn't pay the shit off. They were basically put in a catch-22 situation where liability was then shifted on their ass. It's a lot of funny business going on with TikTok stuff with big money at play. So the consensus is that this is a money grab. I don't even know if this is a money grab. It feels like an attention grab. It feels like, you didn't want to keep me on board. You thought you could get rid of me. Let me show you what I can do. That's what it feels like. It feels like an emotionally scorned person who got fired by a former friend and said, you know what? Let me put some dirt out there on your ass. That's 1,000% what this feels like. How many people have you seen that tried to walk away from an abusive relationship that ended up in the ground? Big attention grab because I went straight to his page. He know Meg about to go on tour. He wants some of that his money. He'd be lucky to get some of the big old freak money before Megan even became rich. I don't think he'd get none of that. He was even fired for leaking to Nicki. I've seen this allegation on his jacket. I don't have explicit details or proof that says he was leaking information to Nicki, so I personally can't subscribe to that narrative. I saw people saying that he was literally going out there trying to beg for a job with Nicki. But I don't know. I know that there was some talks about Desi Perez firing employees from Roc Nation for leaking information to Nicki. I just don't know if he is that person. Because if we actually feed into that narrative, we would actually have to say Emilio was an employee for Roc Nation. Because actual Roc Nation employees were the ones who were fired. We can't even confirm he was an employee for Roc Nation. So I can't say that he was the one leaking information to Nicki. I'm saying you're trying to put black and white in a situation with a vast area of gray because we've seen people get killed trying to leave. And if we ignore this gray area, we're doing ourselves a misjustice. That's what I'm saying. It's almost pointless for me to try to explain this because I know you understand it. But I will anyway. Her being bi is hardly dirt. You know, everybody keeps telling me that Megan Thee Stallion is bi. I can't say that I've seen proof of her being bi. We seen her with niggas. I ain't seen her with no ladies. If she liked to deal with ladies in her personal time, she may have came out and said she bi. But it seemed like her bi tactics have been on a permanent bi week because all I see her dealing with is niggas. So that's what we got on Megan. This sounds like a whole load of horse shit. It sounds like a steaming pile of bullshit. Y'all remember that shit from Belly when them niggas was watching that movie at DMX house? The little white boy with the cowboy hat on. You look like a steaming pile of bullshit. That's what that lawsuit is. Exactly. It said that she was getting sexual with a woman, but how can we confirm that she even was having a sexual encounter? He has no photos. He has no videos. He has nothing that can confirm this ever took place. Along with the rest of the accusations in his lawsuit, he has no form of proof that says any of this occurred. So I can't say that she had sex with a woman. Because if I were to acknowledge any point in his lawsuit as true, which we have no proof of, I would have to say all of it is true, which clearly we don't believe. I know they keep saying he was allegedly the one that... I'm not running on your head. You said, what else is there to do? You phrased it the way that you did. Like, I'm acknowledging everyone's comments here. But I don't know what I'm supposed to say about people that been put in the dirt because they tried to leave. So that's all I'm saying, man. I know everybody's, and if he have photos and videos, that mean he was doing his job? No. But it do sound, I mean, if he getting photos and videos, yeah, he was doing his motherfucking job. And that would be him doing his job as somebody filing a lawsuit, because if you ain't got no proof, how is the judge supposed to side with you? He has no witnesses. I would love to know what this who's the makeup artist that he confided in? Is that person going to testify on his behalf? Again, it looked like steaming pile of bullshit. My whole thing is make it make sense. If his lawsuit made sense, I would say, hey, this is where I feel that she's liable. Who's to say that he was working when he took those photos? Well, in his defense, let's just say, he's saying that he worked so many hours that the lines between when he was working and when he wasn't were blurred. And I said that way more eloquently than they said it in their fucking lawsuit, but clearly that's what he's trying to say. So then all of a sudden, she stops booking him as much, and that became a problem. It's crazy. I can see that. Crazy how this is happening right before her tour and new album, and let's add some fat shaming since she was just on the cover of a women's health magazine. Interesting. She was calling this nigga fat, and he ain't even really fat. He got a gut. She had a gut when, you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? He got a gut, but during the pandemic, if we're talking about during the time that he was working for her, Megan had a little bit of, you know what I'm saying? She had gained some weight too. Right. Exactly. He would need to show check stubs to prove he was an employee. Like, it's a lot of missing links in there, which I also pointed out, like, while I was reading it. I'm like, where's the additional context? Like, you're making all of these allegations, but you're not even making 2 + 2 = 4. You're talking about you worked in a hostile environment, but from 2018 to 2022, there were no claims of any sort of hostility. You had one encounter with her that we don't even know if it happened, but there was some sort of misunderstanding. Let's just say that much. And he's alleging that they made his working conditions uncomfortable from there. However, from June 2022 to June 2023, he has no claims other than the fact that he had to travel with her. He had to stay in a hotel and couldn't get access to certain amenities, which I would love to know which amenities you didn't have access to, because as an employee, or just period, if you go to a hotel and you start ordering room service on somebody else's dime, they're well within reason to say, don't order room service. Go get your ass something to eat from the local restaurants. or get your ass something to eat when the group goes and get something to eat. So I'm not understanding where the harassment came in. He had ample opportunity to give details on where this actual harassment came through. He claims that she said that he couldn't work for any other clients, but I went through his actual Instagram during the time of employment and we saw that he was working with other clients and posting them. He also had the ability to go off and perform at festivals and try to get his rap career launched off the ground. So where were all of these excessive work hours where you was actually doubling as a photographer and a rapper? I think he want money from them taxes. Just like the lipo claims in the PF collab. And, you know, if she got lipo, what happens then? If Megan comes out and says, "Hey y'all, I got lipo," is anything gonna change? That's what I'd be tripping off. What's gonna change? "Hey y'all, I got my nose done." Okay. You know what I'm saying? Hit her with the mom from Friday. Okay. Shit be weird, man. My job is generous and I don't get to use jacuzzi, sauna, room service when they send me places. I get a prepaid loaded card for food. I always advocate for victims of sexual abuse, and if he is a victim of that, he deserves justice. But if he is, why would he link up? But that's the thing here. We can't call him a victim of sexual abuse because we have no claim of him being sexually involved with anybody. The encounter is something that happened in his presence, but he didn't actually engage. He said the door was locked. He couldn't get out the car. He couldn't remove himself from the situation, which would tell me Megan Thee Stallion travels with the child-proof lock on her car. She can't get out the vehicle when she want to neither. I don't know about that. He says, I couldn't get out. We were in a foreign country. That's plausible. But you have your own money. You could have Ubered in Ibiza to your home, to your hotel. So I don't know. Like you gotta show ample opportunities that you tried to like remove yourself or have a conversation with her. He was not sexually involved with anybody to be a sexual victim. If anything, if there was any sort of sexual misconduct, he would actually be a witness to said crime. But he made no mention of any such crime. So all of this is bullshit. Meg was tied to a can model in the beginning of her career and also raps about being bisexual. All right. At what point do we acknowledge the entertainment of rapping? This is not a shot at you, City Blue. But her sworn nemesis, Nicki Minaj, back in the day, used to blur the lines between rapping about bisexual type shit. We ain't never linked her to any woman. It was entertainment. You say she could have been tied to a cam model in the beginning of her career. I don't know. I ain't never seen that. Y'all might be privy to something I haven't. But her rapping about being bisexual, I would take that as entertainment. That's not true though. If someone does something like that in front of someone, it's considered harassment. Let's just go with that. All right. Let's say she did have a sexual encounter in front of this guy, and we call it harassment. All right. What is the value of that versus the other allegations? Hey, I'm just going through the comments and trying to gain some understanding here. And again, the whole thing is, even if she's bi, which doesn't matter, like if she's bi, that doesn't mean that this happened. So I'm not here to like make a strong case like, oh man, if she's bisexual, I'ma hate her. I'm just saying like none of this can actually hold up to say that this happened. Oh, Megan's bisexual. Okay. She's bisexual, but did this actually occur? If Megan was drunk having sex, he would have had the opportunity to take pictures or record it like Lil Rod did with Diddy. I mean, he would have had ample opportunity. This is not new news that she's bi. She has said this, so I don't know why he's seen this as a defense, lest he planned that up. I think he's trying to make her out to be a sexual predator of some sort. I don't think he's really trying to make her out to be bi. I don't think in 2024 calling a woman bi is gonna like hold up in a smear campaign. I think he's trying to make it seem as though she's some sexual deviant that mistreated him in the workplace. Y'all keep telling me about her raps like we supposed to believe everybody's raps. If we go by that measure, every nigga that dies on an album. City Blue. She said, I don't believe the lawsuit. I just want to be her next girlfriend. We appreciate the honesty. That's the part that I don't like about this Emilio Garcia nigga. We can't appreciate his honesty. If she's bi, that does not make her a criminal. Meg could be sexually fluid, but not necessarily bi. You know what I mean? Like, what if she's pan? What if she's a sapiosexual and she's just attracted to everyone that has her level of intelligence? Is Emilio mad that he didn't get a slice of the pie? I'm just fucking around. Exactly. He's not suing her directly for sexual assault or harassment. He's suing her without proof for unpaid wages. He only threw the rest of that in there to be spiteful. Again, this lawsuit is for unpaid wages. And then the extra stuff in there is to show what he witnessed in the workplace since he was an employee. But he's got to actually prove his employment, right? Because they distinguished him as an independent contractor, not an employee. A photographer with no photographic evidence. Clearly, he's got photographic memory. You know what I'm saying? And it's supposed to be taken to a court of law. No, I said, if this actually happened, then what is the value on that? Because I think if that's the case, then we could come to some sort of agreement. Because if she did just have a sexual encounter in front of this dude, I think he would be entitled to something. Let's just say that's what really happened. If he can prove that's what happened, because I can't accept anything without proof. But if we say that this is what happened for real, then we would have to figure out what that is worth, because he's not even saying that that's what he wants compensation for. He wants compensation for unpaid wages, allegedly, but he threw that in there to say he was a witness to something. Why is Megan the common denominator in all of these situations? What situations are we talking about? At what point does being bisexual equal committing a crime? If we can't answer that question, the whole bi thing has to be kind of thrown out. Not to say her actual sexual preference, because she could be bi if she said that. I haven't seen it, but if she said that, I'm going to go with that. But what does that have to do with the lawsuit? If we can't answer that question, any judge worth a grain of salt is going to be, why are you telling me she's gay or bi if it has nothing to do with the facts? That's the main question. He ain't gonna get no money, but he definitely gonna get the experience of his life with Alex Spiro. I'm gonna tell you that now. You're bi, so you definitely had to have sex in front of Emilio Coochie. Oh man. This shit funny to me. Not the sexual stuff, but just the narratives that are circulating. He's an opportunist. He's seen all the lawsuits occurring this year and knows Megan is an easy target for a hate train. Mm-mm. Ah, Lala. I ain't even mad at the fact that he don't like coochie. You know what I mean? That's his preference. These people crazy. He gonna he gonna owe more money than Tasha K. Yeah, he probably gonna get countersued. I can see that in his future. Man, oh man. At any rate, you know, I'm assuming this won't be the last that we hear of this case. I'm assuming that unless Alex Spiro and his team could get this thing snuffed out, there's gonna be an onset of even more egregious claims coming from Emilio and his team. He gonna start windmilling and spiraling out at some point. He didn't even play his hand very well with that lawsuit. For those of y'all that were actually on here when I was reading it, that shit was terrible. Poorly done. You got a lawsuit that's 43 pages repeating the same 5 statements. Each additional count of his complaint still had the same 5 statements. I challenge anyone on your personal time, go look at the documents for yourself. Go read through it and try to come to your own conclusion based on what he put in his own lawsuit. And just let me know what you think. You could come back to this video and drop a comment. I would love to know what your independent thought, your independent study of this, what conclusion you come to without the outside influence of the comments, without looking at Twitter. Remove Megan Thee Stallion's name from it. Put any person on the defense. And just tell me, what do you think of this lawsuit and how valid you think it is? Maybe he'll have exhibits. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. If he can present actual evidence, that would be his biggest favor, because this lawsuit is piss poor, in my opinion. You said my mic is low. But why is it that everybody else can hear me just fine? Anyway, again, I believe his lawyer didn't do a good job connecting his points. I also believe being an independent contractor, your services can be terminated at any point. He didn't do his due diligence. Yeah. Emilio Coochie, this is what I got to say to you, sir. Goodbye. Oh, man. You get a nice...
Goodbye. Bye.
Now get your ass on out of here. Goodbye. Now get your ass on out of here. That's what I got for y'all, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, I'm quite sure more is going to come out on this case. More is going to come out in the accusations. The court of public opinion will be tried for manipulation. Again, I just want to see if you go off on your own tangent, read the lawsuit for yourself. Let me know what y'all think. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Become an insider. Make sure that you get your post notifications set to all. I know the notifications be acting crazy, but just double, triple check. And I'll be back later. I got some more content. We're not going live again, but I will premiere another video later in the day. I'm actually going to sign out and get to work on that. But in the meantime, I hope y'all enjoy your day, enjoy your time, and I will see y'all shortly. All right? Much love and respect. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming, I swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda, we hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef on computers, I'm straight out the sewer, we come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest, but drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they died of me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but you run no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.